Hey guys, it's Evan again. Just doing another Jeep update. Haven't really done too many lately, but I've been pretty busy. But anyway, so here she is, Missy. Not too many things I've done too recently, but I have done this. This is a Kal Intake Mod, where you utilize the factory box, the factory filters, and you block off the front of the box. I just used a piece of sheet metal and RTV'd it to the inside of the box and self-tapping screwed it to hold it in. Sealed up all the holes in the bottom of the box, all the drain holes. And then got this Spectra 3-inch intake tubing, which I didn't use the whole thing because it's pretty long, but I used a decent amount of it, cut it. And then what you do is, since it's tubing, it almost has like a screw. Since it's this type of tubing, it's almost like a screw, so it almost kind of has threads in it. So what I did was then I cut the hole in the back of the box, on the bottom part of the box. It's actually a really tight fit, but it fits perfect actually. It's very, in terms of that hole being big and too small enough to be able to use in the box, it's just about, you can't get it much bigger than that. So what I did is I cut the hole in the box, wrapped a bunch of electrical tape around the hose to build it up to make it really tight fit, and then put a bunch of silicone on it and actually threaded it into the box and let that sit and seal. So that's perfectly sealed. And then up here, when you buy the Spectra hose, it comes with a rubber thing that threads onto the hose, and then there's just a piece of rubber. Clamp that on there just so it doesn't leak. You got another clamp. Now this I also got from Advanced. All this stuff I got at Advanced Auto. It's nothing special. I got this, which is an intake. I'm not sure what it's called. It's an intake block or something, but it's for a 3-inch hose. And then all I did was I just traced the hole, cut it into the cowl, and then made a rubber gasket and self-tapping screwed it to the firewall, or to the cowl. Now, a lot of guys do this cowl thing. It's all over the Jeep forums everywhere. But the one thing I was worried about is when it rains or water gets in your cowl, it runs through here and it drains out the bottom of your fenders. So what I did is I actually made a baffle. Now it's just a piece of sheet metal. It probably goes up to here. And I just cut slots in it and rounded it off so it's real nice. And then just bent it back in there to try and prevent any like water that's sloshing around from going in the intake, because it's the last thing I want. Because the whole purpose of this is so that I can raise my intake from being right about where the headlight is to at least up to the cowl, so I don't have to worry too much about water getting in my intake box when I'm off-road. So, and then that just has a hose clamp on it and just clamps onto there real nice. Now one thing about this mod that a bunch of guys have talked about, which I realized too, is if you look at it from the side, it sticks up quite a bit from where the hood would be. So what I actually had to do was to dent the hood. Now, if I were to do it again, I'd cut this out, but this is what I did, and then I'm going to paint it just because it looks like crap and the paint's flaking off. But I dented that up enough so that this had clearance and so it didn't rub. But besides that, it works really well. And actually, I have an app through my phone and a connector for my OBD2 port that actually views all the sensor values, or the PIDs, from the engine. And my intake air temperature sensor, actually before I did this, was probably 190, about average, 195 for intake temperature. And now after this, on the way home from work, it actually went down to 172, so 172 degrees. So it actually does provide more cold, dense air, because you're not drawing air from inside the engine compartment. It's coming from outside the engine compartment, so you don't have all the heat that the 4-liter produces, because we know how hot they get, and it's not going into the intake. Obviously, as it goes through here, it gets warmer because it's already in the engine bay, but when your outside air coming into the engine is colder, you want it as cold as possible, so that way, even though it will warm up, it'll still be colder than normal. So, very nice mod, very cheap. I think I spent like 25 bucks for the whole thing. Half the stuff I already had. But anyway, that's the most recent update. I'm actually going to Roush Creek tomorrow, Saturday, and that should be pretty cool. It's actually memorial fun for memorial ride for one of my teachers that passed away. Anyway, so I'll get some cool video from there, and then the weekend after, I will be going to the All Breeds Jeep Show in York, PA. So it's actually not that far, maybe a 2-hour drive. But I'll be there. This will be submitted. I'll be running the obstacle courses and everything, so that should be really cool. If anybody's going, I'll see you there. Alright, comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.